unclasps his hands. Let the balloon block the surveillance. Then he hurriedly locked the door of the room, pushed the cabinet under the air vent. Take out the pre-prepared tools and remove the nails. Then remove the vent. Take out the remote control and press it at the toy soldiers in front of him. The little man moves forward automatically. Then Jack quickly jumps off the cabinet. Untie the laces of his Nike shoes. With the laces tightly strung, the nails on the coffin were pulled out with great force. Just as the last nail was being removed, the laces suddenly broke. With time running out, Jack had no choice but to remove the nails with his bare hands. At last Jack lifts the coffin panel. Then he rushed to hook the toy soldier in the pipe into his hand. Then he tugged on the rope at the back, slowly pulling out the body originally placed in the pipe, and then into the mother's pavilion. At that moment he suddenly heard footsteps slowly approaching. He covered the pavilion with boards and put them in place, then tapped the nails in one by one with a Nike shoe. Then he quickly puts on his suit, unlocked the door, and put the cupboard back in place, sitting calmly by and praying, as if nothing had happened. Suddenly a mobile phone rings from inside the pavilion. Jack was momentarily stunned. Fortunately, the second before the staff opened the door, the mobile phone ringing ended just in time. The priest looked at the man's sad face. Wells didn't raise any suspicions. Just as Jack was about to leave in peace, the priest saw the dirt on the nails without realizing it. He suddenly called out to the man. This priest suddenly called out to Jack. He handed him the balloon behind him. Jack took it in his hand with trepidation, opens the door, and walks out of the funeral home. And what the hell was going on? Just now Jack had learned the news of his mother's death. On his way to the funeral, suddenly a small dog came out in front of the car. Jack jerked the wheel, accidentally crashed into another dark figure. Only after checking did he realize that he had killed an older man. Jack was a well-known local policeman. If anyone finds out about this, he would have lost his job. So he hauled the body into the trunk. Then he quickly fled the scene of the accident. Just when Jack thought he could get away with it, he was caught in the middle of a DUI check. He rushed to identify himself and warned them of the penalties for interfering with their work. The FBI was too scared to say anything. They had to let him go. But then he received a text message out of the blue. A colleague told him that some prosecutors were investigating corruption in the police station. They're even searching everyone's cars. Confused, Jack suddenly remembered. There's a dead body in his trunk. When he doesn't know what to do, the vent in the morgue caught his eye. Jack suddenly had a great idea, and that's how the scene began. He then followed the undertaker's staff, buried his mother's coffin in the earth. But now there was a very important problem. The windscreen had shattered on impact. It could easily be investigated by the FBI. At this point Jack looked at the car in front of him, gritting my teeth and pressing the accelerator straight into the car. And so it was. The windscreen was replaced. That was the end of the job. Just then Jack's colleague told him, "Don't worry about the dirty money. All the evidence had been flushed down the drain." Just when Jack thought it was over, he has been given a new case. A suspect needs to be arrested, and it's the man he ran over the other day. Jack is momentarily confused. He doesn't want his colleagues to trace him back to him, so he drove along with the others. But after searching the suspect's house, found no trace of the suspect. Just when he thought he could finally call it a day, suddenly he saw the dog that was at the scene of the accident. Jack followed it down the road. Didn't expect to find brake marks left by his own car. But what's worse is that an FBI agent had been called to the scene. Jack heard from him that the hit-and-run incident that night had been reported anonymously. Even the details of where the body was hidden in the trunk were spelled out. FBL told Jack, "How about checking the surveillance footage, which might lead to a new clue?" Jack was in a cold sweat when he heard the news, but he had to follow the FBI to the surveillance room. Fortunately, the surveillance footage was very blurry. All it showed was a silver Mercedes passing by. The license plate started with the letter D. At this point, all the clues pointed to Jack, but the colleagues hadn't realized the murderer was around. They had to go their separate ways. The next day Jack receives a mysterious phone call. Who said he could give them a lead on the suspect, and the truth that the body had been hidden in the trunk of the car. Jack is surprised and asks him who it is, but the caller threatened Jack, said he knew Jack had killed the man. Jack was so scared that he hung up the phone. But the next day, an aggressive brother burst into the station. He punched Jack straight in the face, then began to scramble to apologize. He said he mistook Jack for a thief, but at the sound of his voice it was clear. This man is the same person who called and threatened Jack yesterday. He followed the man to the bathroom. Jack asked him what he was up to, but what he didn't expect was Jack was a little curious, but he didn't dare ask any more questions after the beating, so he left the police station immediately, went to his mother's grave and dug up the man's body. It was then that he noticed that there was blood on the man's shirt. Then he peeled it back and saw that there were bullet holes. Apparently, the man had been shot a long time ago. Accused, determined to find the real killer and prove his innocence. He had just charged the dead man's mobile phone. Then he received a phone call. Jack was too afraid to say anything and hung up. The person on the phone seemed to know the truth, so Jack locates a man based on his phone and shoves him into a a washing machine, threatening him with the truth. It turns out Smith was the one behind it. He was after the victim for a key to the vault. The dead man used to work in the police, swapping confiscated contraband in secret, and sold it to the black market. With this kind of insider trading, the dead man and Smith made a lot of money. Suddenly one day the black market owner ran away, locking up all the contraband and money in the vault. Now the boss is dead. The key to the vault must still be on the dead man. Then Jack went back to the cemetery. He started searching through the victim's belongings, and sure enough, he found something tightly wrapped. When he opened it, it was just a lipstick. Jack was about to open it to find out what it was, but to his surprise, someone appeared behind him. It was his colleague Mike. He grabs Jack and asks him why he killed someone. It turns out that his colleague had received a surveillance video from the FBI. The car's license plate number was clearly seen on the video, and it was Jack's Mercedes. He found Jack's position based on GPS. He advised him to turn himself in to the police. Jack knew he couldn't hide it any longer. He decided to tell the truth. Mike looked at his best friend. He'd just lost his mother. And then this. He couldn't bear to arrest him. Then Mike unlocked Jack's handcuffs. He tore the evidence to pieces with his own hands. But then Jack's phone suddenly rang. He got out of his car and answered the phone, but he was told to take a few more steps forward. The next moment a huge cargo box falls from the sky. It crushed Mike and his car. Watching his best mate get killed, Jack cried out and said he was going to turn himself in, but Smith wasn't going to let him off the hook. He threatened Jack to see the dead man's body tomorrow, or his wife would disappear forever. Jack has no choice but to comply, but this time he was determined to get his revenge. Settling down with his family, he went to the police station's gun store. He steals a time bomb when the keeper isn't looking, hid the bomb in the body of the dead man, then made his way to the deal. Smith had been waiting for him. He told Jack to take the body to his car. Smith now tells Jack the whole truth. He confessed that he had shot the victim, and that Jack's car happened to hit him. Jack already knew this. After returning the body, he just wanted to get away. That's when Smith behind him suddenly called out to him. He wanted to kill everyone who knew the truth, but Jack was prepared. Told Smith he'd written a letter of information, and set it to be sent on a timer. If he shot him, Smith would spend at least the rest of his life in prison. Jack then pressed his forehead against the gun. At this point Smith had to put the gun away, obviously scared. He started to call Jack a brother in a hypocritical way, then prepared to drive away. Jack saw the right moment to press the remote control in his hand. The car exploded into black smoke. It was finally over. After all this, Jack finally chose to turn himself in. The new Chief Wells didn't arrest him. It was a serious internal matter. If the outside world knew about it, he would have been compromised again. So he told Jack to resign and go home. Eventually, Jack was left with nothing. A former employee came to visit him. After being reassured, she handed over a familiar lipstick. Jack was confused. Isn't this the key to the dead man's vault? Jack, who ended up with nothing, gets the address of the vault, carrying a duffel bag too. After handing the key to the owner, he was led into a small room. Jack turned on the light and took a closer look. There was an untold amount of money.